Steven Spielberg, one of the most well-known and well-loved directors of all time. And I don't say that lightly. I could go out into the street and ask anyone if they know who Steven Spielberg is, and they would be able to tell me what their favourite Spielberg film was. A lot of those movies from the 70s to the 90s seem to have struck a chord with audiences, with the likes of Jaws, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, E.T., Hook, just to name a few. We all grew up with him telling us stories, and it hasn't changed. Spielberg keeps on churning out movies, from last year's Oscar hopeful The Post to 2018's Ready Player One, which is an adaptation of the book Ready Player One, which is basically a love letter to the 1980s, which arguably is the decade that Spielberg helped shape. So today, before I see his newest adaptation movie, I'm looking at what was his first full-length feature film directorial debut. An adaptation of a book? I think you know which one it is I'm talking about. It's an unstoppable foe who, won't stop to catch its prey. That's right, I'm talking Duel, the 1971 television movie that was based on the 1971 short story by Richard Matheson. Now, I'll admit I hadn't seen this until earlier today, but I quite enjoyed it. Even if it did seem a little bit dated, it starts almost like a silent movie, with talk from the radio being the only noise. The first shot is darkness, and the sound of the car being started when then we realise that we are in the garage, seeing the darkness from the car's point of view. The majority of the opening credits are from this point of view, and the way it sets up the location by having the car drive from the suburbs into the city and then out into the desert is a clever way to set up the film. You don't know who is in the car, where the car is going, and it's a nice setup because for the film's runtime we only catch glimpses of the truck driver, so it's apt that we don't see anyone to begin with, we just hear the noise of the car. It also sets up the protagonist being the car and the driver David Mann, portrayed by Dennis Weaver. After the credits, we then get some wide shots showing the car, and then we're introduced to the antagonist, the truck. An old clapped out fuel tanker that just won't give up the road, so much so that it decides to kill. Or at least try to kill. After Mann overtakes the truck, it seems like there's calm, but then he is overtaken by the truck again, and the sound design of this shot is perfect. It makes the truck sound like a monster. You don't expect it to happen, and then it just booms past. Then after a refuel stop, the challenge continues. The truck takes the lead and does not allow Mann to take over, and there's a lot of build-up until Mann is driven off the road and he hits a fence. The truck drives on and Mann thinks it's over. He enters a diner just to calm his nerves. Then the film slows at this point, which is good because we then get an emphasis on Mann's psychology. He's had a crash. He was forced off the road by someone, by an unknown driver. You couldn't even see the driver. So we get a look of what he is thinking. And he's clearly shaken, and he doesn't know what to do, especially when he sees that the truck has parked up in the car park. I don't want to go into spoilers too much, as I feel the film should be seen. I initially thought it would be a hard watch, given its age and the experience of Spielberg at the time, but what we got was a competent road thriller that almost everyone can relate to, because we've all taken over that one person who doesn't like being taken over. The truck increasingly ups the threat to Mann's life, trying to push him into a passing freight train. It also tries to run him down when he stops to call the police. And there's a standoff where the truck is parked, allowing Mann to pass, but then pulling out just before he can make the pass. There's also a scene where Mann flags down a car, and for some reason it reminded me of the scene in Back to the Future where Marty flags down a car when he arrives in it 1955. I don't know if that's been referenced because Spielberg produced Back to the Future, but it seemed to stick out to me. What really makes this film is how it utilises its shots. Spielberg has gone out of his way to shoot the chase sequences, mounting the camera on the truck, running in a car next to the truck and the car, even having shots of the trucks underneath. It uses shots from inside the cab, but it never uses a POV driver shot because it almost wants the truck to be the thing that is attacking man. It is its own character. It is out to get the man who took him over. I'll admit that some of the shots are edited poorly. There's a scene where the truck starts moving and there are a number of shots from over, above, underneath, etc. But you can tell that they were specifically taken, like the truck moves and it looks like it's about to stop because of where it's edited. And it's not a bad thing. I think it's good to see this. It's more that you can see the way the scene was put together, and it kind of shows how well filmmaking works. Take a shot, stick it to another shot, and you've got a scene. Another reason this film works is that it has minimal dialogue. I mentioned earlier that it's almost like a silent film, and it is. Everything is conveyed through the visuals. We see man's reaction to seeing the truck parked up outside the diner. We see him fall asleep as he believes he has successfully hidden the truck, only for him later to turn a bend and see the truck parked waiting. It works so well at upping the stakes and creating a psychological fear for man. The dialogue at times is a little on the nose and seems like they were added at last moment. There are a lot of inner dialogue, and one moment that stood out to me that I don't feel was really needed because the visuals told the story was where the radiator goes and man says, "The radiator line?" Something like that. Earlier on, the threat of the radiator line needing changing was hinted at, and he ignores it. As the film moves on and the speed of the car increases, we know that something will go wrong. Then we see steam coming from the car. We know the radiator has gone, and we see a close-up of man in the car. As soon as he sees the steam, he then tells us, using his inner dialogue, that the radiator has gone. I don't feel like it was needed, as we already had the Chekhov's gun of the radiator breaking earlier on in the film. We knew it was going to go, and now it has. Like, I'm not saying we didn't need any dialogue, because some of the thoughts in Diner were what would be going through your mind if you were in his situation. We visually see him as he works out what he's going to do when he goes to approach the truck driver. And each time he thinks about it, it's different. Overall, this film is a fast-paced, minimal dialogue film. It utilises its shots to convey the story. You can tell that Spielberg was relishing this film. He said that he doesn't think he could make a film like Duel anymore, as he doesn't have the hunger of a young director. This is all present in what he does in Duel. It's a film that could be used to show how to make a good coherent film. And it shows why Spielberg has become one of the greatest directors to come out of the 20th century. You can see that he has crawled all over the truck just to find the best shot. You can tell that he's cutting his teeth in making this film. He is using everything he has learned in filmmaking on this film, and you can see it. It is perfect. And I'm pretty sure one of the tunnels is the way to Toontown, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to give Duel an A- because I really enjoyed it. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Now, we've seen Spielberg's first film. I hope you've got tickets to his latest film, Ready Player One. I'm the Ultimate Movie Geek. Why not subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and WordPress? I'll be back with Ready Player One at some point, probably tomorrow. And there will be another Man About a Dog podcast coming soon. I promise. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.